How's my screen look? Is it nice and clear?
Looks good, and we are recording. I am here with Carl McCargo, who is the founder and the CEO of Track Barn, and you just celebrated your first anniversary
First
as a
year.
company.
Yeah.
So that was a couple weeks ago. So tell me, first anniversary, how's that feel?
It's cool. We made it through a first year successfully. Missed a couple important key months in there, but we're still in really good standing to set us up for a good, strong fall. We didn't have this whole year prior leading into the fall, the year we started. So we're seeing a big push and interest. Not a lot of people maybe purchasing right now, but a lot of quotes. A lot of people curious about the uniforms. We just started doing single one-off uniforms
Okay.
just last week to kind of help out with some of those athletes that are running unattached. So that was super cool. Our production manager wasn't happy about it, but made it happen. So it's good. Life is good. We're in a great spot. It's been really cool. Just from a simple idea, joking with a buddy, it's kind of evolved into this massive, really just its own thing. Like it's kind of evolved week by week. We got a lot of people like yourself, Texas Track and Field Coaches Association, Cross Country Coaches Association, Texas Mile Split, Coach O, people like Adkins Track that are out there as well that push our brand. And we're going to be launching a dealer program pretty soon to help equip some of the dealers across the country, our own dealer network, so we can start really pinpointing the local youth markets to better service some of these youth in high schools that want to get some good apparel, not just be locked in like a local box, for your designs. So that's kind of how it all started.
All right. So when I first met you several years ago, you were pretty fresh here in Texas.
Yeah.
You were repping VS. That didn't work out for whatever reasons. You were with Essex Poles still, and you founded Track Barn. So you already hinted at it. So give us the story of how Track Barn came to life.
Yeah. So, at Essex, we supply one group of people, like just pole vault, right? And in today's day and age, I kind of felt like when I left VS, a part of me died because I couldn't service the youth, the high schools, my college buddies, and stuff like that. And when I had originally started Essex, they were all for me selling equipment and doing something on the side to kind of stay involved in the community. So when we started around like August or so, we kind of were playing with some soft goods, kind of selling shots and discs like everybody else. And then we started to do a little more market research on items that would help us be more unique. And kind of stumbled amongst the bags and stuff like that. But all in all, I think it was just like, I enjoy working with all of the people that we work with in our network so much that's what I missed. I miss going out to the track meet and being able to say hi to all the coaches and not just hanging out at like one event, and right. I have support from our higher ups at Essex. Like they know my long-term plan and things like that. So it's been really cool for them to be open and for me to be open and still continue to grow the brand there and do my thing here, like on my lunches and in the evenings and things like that. So
that's insane.
Yeah.
So when do you sleep?
Gosh, in the truck on lunch for 30 minutes. On the weekends, Sunday's a big nap day for the family as a whole. But honestly, like my wife, she really holds it down. And I think without her, none of this would be possible because Gavin's a handful. We have a 17-month-old running around. It was a complete ball of fire. I tell everyone he's like the most friendly 1-year-old I know. And he's a lot. And, sometimes I have to completely drop what I'm doing for 3 days at a time and I'm super behind. But, ultimately family comes first and making sure I support my wife and backing her up with him. Obviously, like he went back to school this week. So that's been a huge distressor because he opened back up. Essex opened back up like the first week of May, first or second week of May, I think. And my wife was still off work. So she's had the baby. She's had Gavin since May, well, really since March, because spring break, the school shut down. We didn't go back. So she's been watching him this entire time, and we're both completely used to like home care. I'm used to working at home a couple days a week on my own and not having anyone in the house. So that was a struggle, when you got your little turd coming up and he's nagging on you to play and you're trying to get calls done and try to service people. And it's been fun. I think we've been really blessed through this whole process to still have a business. Like the fact that we have people reaching out for our products, it gets me really excited that we can be this busy during a pandemic and be this blessed. I think that that's a lot about what we have out there. Obviously, we're not selling a ton of like shots and discs or anything like that, but a lot of the items that we're creating and making a part of the scene in track and field, they're unique. Like the custom discus bags.
Right.
We just have our new custom shot bag. We're gonna release that early next week. Still doing some testing on it. It'll hold about 40 pounds. So a lot of R&D on the side. But I think just trying to have that time management and then having a team, like my niece helps a lot. My wife helps with some paperwork when she gets a couple hours here and there. She'll help with some numbers on our books and shipping. Like anytime we get a new shipment, it's like all hands on deck. I got a neighbor that comes across the street. He helps ship. Last week, Saturday, we got a shipment late Friday, and we loaded the truck up completely Monday evening when I got off work and took a load to the UPS store and USPS. So that was cool. That was like a big, like, whoa, like this is happening right now. But I think that like any advice I can give to anybody, because at the end of the day, like I'm still just a junior college kid that went to run track in college. I don't know if I'd have a degree if I didn't run track. I'd say like find that thing that makes you tick, and just love to do it. Like I love pole vault, I love track and field, and like those are a part of my everyday life, And ironically, in the decathlon, pole vault was one of my worst events, but I touched a pole every day of my life, darn near the last 2 years. It's a trip. It's a total trip.
So you are a former decathlete.
Yeah.
Of the 10 events, what was your favorite to compete in?
I would definitely say the long jump, javelin, and the hurdles were my 3 favorites.
Okay.
Learned how to hurdle in my senior year of high school. Actually, the national account manager at VS Athletics was my high school track coach. And he pulled me off the baseball field and was like, hey, man, come hurdle. And like any high school kid, like a junior, you're going to talk a little crap. Matt was like the cool guy, all the good looking girls in the training group, all the good looking dudes, all the fit kids, So I was like, all right, this seems cool. Let me check this out. And that's kind of how it all started. Ran track, ran like 39.3 my senior year after training all fall. And I actually ran cross country my junior year prior to get in shape for baseball. And then I ran at 17:45 in the 5K. I think I ran 17:15 downhill at Dana Hills. That was like the fastest I ever ran in cross country. So like when I try to explain to people, like I've coached cross country for 2 years. I ran cross country. I coached all the throws. I did the decathlon. Like I'm a nerd. Like I like love cross country and track and field, and that's why I always tell people, I always put XCTF on every coach's quote, because I want them to think about us during cross country and track season. Like we're not just track.
I completely understand. So as far as Track Barn is concerned, with equipment suppliers, not associations or organizations like a Coach O or cross country, but as far as equipment, who is your first partnership? Who is the first product you were able to rep?
Gosh, I think like the first major one was probably Nelco.
Their discs?
Yeah, for the discuses. That was our first big one. And then we started out with we started selling Polanic. That did really well.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do get other equipment from competitors as we kind of need it. Cause obviously like we don't stock anything. I don't have the manpower to stock anything. We do a lot of drop shipping. Mm-hmm. We do have a warehouse in Washington that we ship our throws equipment out of. They do our drop shipping for us. That was a good one. They've become we've had a great relationship with them. And then just trying to create that soft goods line and continue to push it out. Like we're trying to perfect a performance short, like a training short, and a coaching short that has like cargo pockets and something that people would probably wear for like CrossFit or like wearing before you hop on the track or before you go out to the throws. Like you might wear it to warm up or something sporty.
Okay.
Like we don't want to just be seen as a track and field company, but we want to be seen as a lifestyle company, like something that you're like, oh, dude, let me grab my track barn hoodie like before you head out the door. Or, yo, did you see that those new backpacks that Track Barn dropped? Like we want to be a part of the movement. And I just got so tired of seeing these boring designs and hey, for $50, you can buy a backpack from our competitor, and all you can do is embroider the logo, and you get a generic gray backpack that looks like everything else everybody else has. So I was like, man, like there's a spot in the high school market. There's a small space probably in the junior college market, and there's a major space in the youth market to service some of these youth teams and give them good quality, not just the artwork that they see from some of these manufacturers that are overseas.
Right.
That just throw art together, like, all right, here's your logo, and they're just trying to sell the soft goods, and not like an actual brand presentation. That's like the cool thing is like once we redid all our branding around February, we got connected with Ray Baca's throwing coach, Matt Spears' sister, Rachel King.
Right.
And she's just really like assumed the role of marketing director and our head of design and really taken things to the next level. And that was what I was looking for. We also have a partnership with Tachyon Athletic, Steve Gordon up in Omaha, Nebraska. And he does some stuff for us. We just did a collab with them on a backpack. So the designs have just been a big thing that we focused on since January. But that rebrand, when she redid the logo, started selling some t-shirts when I was like, all right, like this isn't just like a joke over a couple beers anymore. Like this is going to be real. So it was a couple sleepless nights and things like that, but it's all been worth it.
So now that it's real and you've realized it, having turned one, how did you fare successfully through COVID?
Like any business, we shut down there for a good 8 weeks and didn't have much going on. But we really start to see the light at the end of the tunnel around June when things started to kind of pick back up. And then July was good to us. It was a decent month. And I'm just looking to kind of see that curve kind of keep on growing as we kind of approach December. Our biggest month, weirdly, like ever in a year was December. So with COVID, we weren't able to see like the big March or April that you usually see with a track company, that March, April, May kind of fizzes out. We didn't get to really see that. And it's just crazy to see the curve from December all the way to March, up to March to the shutdown. Like we were just like cruising. Like I thought we were going to lift off. Like I was going to have to hire someone part-time just to take orders during the day. And I wouldn't do quotes anymore, you know? So it's been definitely a thing, like just to make sure we're keeping an eye on.
So where do you see Track Barn in 5 years?
I definitely see us being a competitor next to like a Nike, an Adidas, Holloway. We started research on a small track spike for just youth teams. It's affordable. That's under $35 to sell to youth teams. So that's one of our big projects. But ultimately, I see this as a full, not only have like our own manufacturing, our own equipment, but also like our own footwear. I don't think we're going to stop here. We've been extremely blessed. And the people that have connected with us and connected us to certain people who are resources to continue to grow our business. And it's not me like necessarily like on the phone calling people. It's really just like, it's the track and field community. And there's a big Black community out there with us being the only Black track and field company in the country that does support us. And that's something I never saw before. Obviously at Essex or at VS Athletics, because you don't have any Black owned track and field companies in the industry. And if you think about that youth market, it's predominantly African-American. And I was just like, wow, like this is, if I was a youth coach and I can call Carl and I know that I'm going to get honest, sincere, and this guy's going to care about me, right? Like, I feel like so many people are like, oh, whatever, this youth coach, like, I'm just going to whatever. Like, this guy doesn't want equipment. He just wants to buy uniforms and soft goods. But I think everybody has a story. And if you can cater to that person's needs, they're going to tell 10 people about you. And it's just going to it's going to be a domino effect. And that's like my big thing is just focusing on that youth coach, that youth network.
Nothing wrong with that. Like you said, it is a huge, huge market. Have you ever thought of going back into coaching?
Yeah, actually, there's a kid around the corner that needs some discus lessons. His dad's been kind of nudging me a little bit. It's just it's gonna be hard. I coached for 6 years before I came into the sales role and recruited my butt off, and I broke some hearts after leaving a couple programs. But I went to New Mexico. I went to school in Missouri, Central Missouri. Then went to school at New Mexico, coached with my old junior college coach, Mike Barbie, at Eastern New Mexico. Then left Eastern New Mexico, went up to Shattern State with Brad Gamble. Was there for a semester, and then got a position at Marietta College in Ohio with Andre English.
Mm-hmm.
Was there for almost 2 years, coached cross country for a while. And then I actually took a year off and coached in between my job in New Mexico and Nebraska and California for a year and volunteered. But I feel like this is my, how do I put this? This is my audience. Like, Track Barn's my audience to impact people at a higher level. But not only just through Track Barn, but announcing meets too. Like, that's a part of me that's died.
Right.
When we saw each other up at the Athletic Performance Ranch for the Jump Smart Texas showcase, which was super cool.
Right, the long jump showcase, right?
Yeah, I got to team up with Kenny Roseman and basically do like a pro bono, like come out, set the speakers up, give out free T-shirts, give Track Barn some street cred. Like, that was really like our first event. Like, I didn't do any events prior, and our social media has just really been a major key in our marketing to our success. That's one thing I credit from UST Mamiya and Essex is our social media, our marketing, our total presentation is a big part of why the expectation of Track Barn is so high. Like, we don't just like blast anything out there. It's usually we try to put out quality.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a big thing for us. Like, we just had, you guys only see the good. We had a 25 bag order come in with some wrong names, and it's a nightmare, but like, we're going to fix it and we're going to send it out. Right. Like, you only hear the bad, you only hear the good, but like, we have some of our battles too, that we're fixing, and it could get interesting to say the least.
I'm sure. Well, let's take a break for a second from track and field, touch on something a little bit more dear to your heart now, because you said the young man is 17 months old. So when I first met you, you weren't married.
Right.
You weren't a father.
Right.
Those two are off the list. So how has fatherhood changed you?
Gosh, like, I think one common thing, like, if I talk to any of my buddies, it's like, dude, I worried about all the wrong stuff before. When we were slammed at the factory, like, I was helping make pulls, roll pulls. I was making 2-3 trips a week to the airport. I was doing deliveries locally. Get home sometimes at 6 o'clock after starting at 7 a.m. And I get home and Gavin's ready. He's ready to go 100 miles per hour. And it's not fair to him for me to go sit down because he doesn't understand I just had a long day at work, No, but to find that second wind and be able to play with him and just enjoy myself has just been the coolest thing. Like, he's awesome. Like, he's everything we want. My wife is super outgoing. She's a special education teacher. She's an enrichment teacher at Waxahachie ISD at Finley Middle School, and she's the head middle school coach too. But her and I are both class clowns in high school and didn't know it, but like we have like the funniest baby. It's just
I was
like,
gonna say because you're so shy.
yeah, it's like the other day we were doing something. There's this older gentleman out, and I try not to bother anybody. Like I try to just kind of do my thing and like kind of move around the neighborhood. Like if someone waves, like cool, but like I try not to go out of my way. Like it was really funny today when I went on my run on the path downtown in Waxahachie. It was my first time running on the path. I usually run around the neighborhood, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna mix it up. I'm gonna go have coffee. I'm gonna go work at the cafe after I get done today. And I had a really hard time not waving to every person that ran by. Like at least doing like a hey, because it's like I'm so friendly, and how do you teach your 17-month-old not to be too friendly? But dude is legit saying hi to everybody when we go on walks, and it's really cool to see because my dad always raised me is to treat the janitor with the same respect you treat the CEO. Like when we were taking him into stores, he would say hi to the cashier. And my dad taught me that, like asking the cashier, how's your day going? Like, oh, that's cool. I think during that brief 4 minutes that person's scanning the groceries, I think the least that you could do, especially with what's going on in the world right now, hey, how are you doing today? And don't be afraid if they say they're having a bad day, just say, hey, you know what? Keep your head up, keep working. I think that little bit of encouragement and passing that positive vibe goes a long way. And teaching Gavin that has been like that's been fun. Like I try to get him to give me a hug every day, give him mommy kisses, try to teach him that affectionate side, and then we're trying to balance the tough side. He roughed up a few kids at daycare today. So he's 16 months old. Dude's a tank. He's 30, he's almost 30 pounds. So he's the average height of a 3-year-old. So he's just mowing people over. And part of that is my fault. I play super rough with him, but that's how my dad was with me. So I kind of pass that on. So I'm trying to teach him how to like be gentle with the ladies and things like that. But I think it's really been it's been an adventure. I could talk about Gavin all day long, but
I'm sure you could.
Yeah, he's great.
So, other than Gavin, I know as far as getting away from business, you ride motorcycles.
Yeah.
What else do you do to get away from the business world, the world of cross country track and field?
So as of recently, like we just moved into our new home in May. I've started more hands-on. Like I built a shipping bay in the garage. It's about 49 inches tall. It's about 15 feet of workspace. It's basically like a large workbench, but it's bar height. And we got all our scale on there, our printers, everything. So I've been building some new planter boxes for my wife. There's a lot of like hands-on housey stuff. Like we bought a new house, we built a new house. So it's been a lot of yard work.
Understand.
Exercise, running, obviously. My wife and I love to go to the brewery down the road. It's called Railport, and we let Gavin run around. We play bags. Obviously, like a big barbecuer coming from Missouri, I learned a lot about Kansas City barbecue and things like that. But the dirt bikes are something I picked up when I coached when I lived in California. My grandpa had motorcycles. We grew up on them, but I actually picked it up from an old friend, Steve Daxton. Actually knows a lot of people in Texas that I ran into. It was super weird when I moved here. Steve's from Sissonville, West Virginia. He's a 1986 graduate of Abilene Christian. He won 3 national titles with their team there with Don Hood.
Yeah.
So Steve used to come up to Marietta College all the time and pole vault. And I started coaching him, and he started talking trash to me one day about riding dirt bikes. I was like, oh yeah, whatever, man. Anything with two wheels, I'll rip. And he sets me up with this 08 300XC and got me all the hand-me-down gear and stuff. And for about a good year and a half while I was in Ohio, I would drive down, stay at Steve's house on Friday night, drive my pickup down, stay at his house Friday night, and we literally load up, go to this place called Campbell's Creek in West Virginia. Now that was an experience. But yeah, the dirt bikes that's been fun. It's always interesting because like in obviously Ohio, it's like you're the black guy. And here too, it's really funny. Like people are really surprised, like when I take my helmet off, that like it's me that might be leading like our group of 8 buddies that go ride. So that's been a fun thing to navigate because I grew up in Southern California. So like I grew up skateboarding, riding skateboards, mountain biking, BMXing. Like if you had scrap wood from the construction nearby, we were taking the scrap wood and building ramps with it,
Right,
and jumping up and down the driveway. And we've been collecting wood here. So that's my next thing is we're going to build a ramp out front for some of the kids down the street. And my neighbor, he likes to jump bikes too, apparently.
Cool.
All the old guys are going to get out. But that's really like, it's just family. We did a drive-in movie last week on my neighbor's fence. I had some old vinyl from some of our marketing stuff for Track Barn. And I was like, well, this has our old logo. Y'all can use it, put it up on the fence to the projector on there, and had a light bar. And we had like 3 close families that are all quarantined, and we're all pretty tight knit and just kind of hanging out. So yeah, just family and just hobbies. Anytime I can get a chance, camping too. So
With Track Barn, what aspects of either cross country or track and field are you not able, or you're currently not repping that you want to soon?
I think like anybody wants to do like the big box Nike, Adidas, and things like that. There's some other brands I would like to have a relationship with, but there's a conflict with my day job, so that just we don't pursue that. But what's weird is that all the other brands that you would expect us to want to work with, we don't get a lot of people reach out for that stuff. Everybody wants like that unique sweatshirt or singlet or custom tights or something like that. You know, that's really been our sweet spot. And we still, you know, we'll sell Richie Pitts, you know, and things like that. But I don't know, it's really interesting. That big box stuff's hard to come by. We do a lot of replacement weather covers and top hats, and the vinyls for like the pits, the sand. I did find we found a really good niche in there because it costs a fortune for a replacement weather cover from some of these other big companies.
Yeah,
and I'm not in the business of killing our sport. I'm in the business of growing it. So if I can sell you 25 backpacks for $40 and it's our premium design, you know, then like great. Like that's kind of my goal. I think we can all survive and make a couple bucks, but not gouge anybody. But two, like I'm saying this from a guy that runs his business out of a garage. I don't have 27 employees, so maybe I don't get it yet, you know.
Hey, Jeff Bezos started out of his garage.
Did he really?
Selling books.
I didn't know that.
And now it's $200 billion, whatever it is. So yeah, he started out of his garage.
That would be a lot of track money. So I was talking with we're talking about a lot of money. Wes Barnhart at Vault Rental.
Right.
This guy makes handmade pullbacks. And Wes and I were talking about creating a minority scholarship where Track Barn gives a donation for a minority athlete to attend a pole vault camp or a distance camp or like a steeplechase clinic, like what Lovejoy does.
Right.
Events where you don't typically see minorities. Like I was talking to my buddies today, he coaches at HBCU, and the majority of athletes 800 and above are not minority. The majority of athletes that are minority are 800 and below.
Right.
But you typically don't see them in the pole vault.
True.
Or typically in the javelin. In the D1 level, yes, and on the elite level, there's a lot of African American or Black, for that matter, throwers, the javelin, hammer, like guys like Kidway,
Mm-hmm.
monsters. But that's like that was like one bug that got put in my ear. Like Wes is one of those cool guys. Like when I call and talk to you, like he's always bouncing ideas off of us, and that's literally how everything has evolved. It's just people like Wes, and that's like our big. Is if we make it big, be able to tithe, but tied to the track and field community and give back 10% of what we earn from the community and give it back and see it. Hey, this paid for so and so's book scholarship, or like what they do at like cross country coaches or like Texas track and field coaches. Like that's like my ultimate goal is once we can say that it might happen before we say we can say we made it, but is to be able to give back. Like I tell people all the time, like my dad was a printer and my mom was a home daycare teacher. So I didn't have anybody pounding in my ear to be a doctor. They were just encouraging me to work my ass off and be a good person, and everything will work out, you know?
Nothing wrong with that philosophy.
Right.
All right, so you're pretty well ingrained now into the Texas track and field, cross country, philosophy, lifestyle, et cetera, et cetera. You've been around TAPS, you've been around UIL, SPC. Obviously, as a former athlete, you understand the sport. From what you know of Texas track and field or cross country, what changes would you make to better the sport?
I'd like to see some more relays. I'd like to see a shuttle hurdle relay. I'd like to see a 4x8. I'd like to see. Gosh, I know I'm gonna ruffle some feathers on this, but I don't like. And I'm from California. I personally would change the point schematic of relays at the UIL state meet because I think it offsets things, and it's like we don't go to the national meet in college and score 20 points. You don't get to score 20 points when it's USA versus the world in the 4x4. Like that's just unheard of. I think it
far as I know, I'm sorry, but as far as I know, I think it's only us in Oklahoma that double the points.
Right, which I see why. But you put the field event strong teams at a disadvantage, and it's track and field. It's not relay and field. So that to me is like a big thing. It's like, man, because like I've announced the TAP state meet, I announced SPC, UIL is still on the honeydew list. I got to announce for under flow track last year. Gosh, that was fun. But those are my three. Like I just being someone that's an event guy, that's a part of events, that helps move events along while I announce and things like that. Those are my big three. Number 4. Coach McCrary at Rockwall High School. And I talked about this last week.
Okay.
As a decathlete, I would love it if we could go to the metric system.
He's talked to me about that as well.
Okay. That is, man, I know that 6'11" looks really cool on paper. I do. I think it looks cool. But like if a dude goes 7 feet, you know, and you see 220, I think that's right. You see that on the board, that's a hell of a jump, right? But everyone can convert. But I think we're putting ourselves at a disadvantage internationally by teaching our students feet and inches, because it's so inconsistent. Because was the throw 65 feet 3/4 inches, but like if I could read meters, it would just be, let's say I threw 45.6 or whatever, 1387. There's no question, none.
Right.
It's done. And I think it would clear the room for error. But that is, I think as a whole, that's not just Texas. I think that just goes across the board, and people freak out when you read meters.
You're not alone in that. Sandy Morris had a post not too long ago where she's also encouraging educating through the measure.
Yeah. I think it's important. It especially like imagine like a freshman pole vaulter going to the state meet, and when they set the bar, they set it in meters, right? That's what most of the officials do. So then the coaches are going over there going, all right, 305. Okay, you're gonna go to 315. It's like,
Or when they call out the standards.
or when they call the standards out. Yeah, yeah, that's weird. That's really weird. Um,
So as far as Track Barn is concerned, um, where do we go next? What is in, not 5 years from now, but what's in the immediate future?
so right now, my next step is I'm going to move into a brand ambassador role with Essex
Okay.
and push their brand and continue to work Track Barn at the same time. So I will, at some point, we don't know when the right timing is, sometime soon, I will be relieved of my duties in-house, and our ultimate goal is to let me go and just sell. Uh, get out, grow the brand. That's my sweet spot. I've learned a ton internally about the product. I've worked every station. I've loaded poles. I've rolled poles. I've cut patterns. I've load celled. I've done the flexing. I've attempted to put the labels on, like the graphic on our pole. Not good at that. Serial numbers. I've packed poles. We've sent poles to all over the world. And it's been cool. It's been a blast. I'm not a corporate guy. And I think that if there's any young athlete or like soon to be college graduate, take a personality test. I talked to my college roommate today actually on lunch, and his personality is very similar to mine. Needs a lot of autonomy, needs freedom, can be a leader, but don't tell me where I can and cannot go. That was hard. That was really hard. Like, Carl, where are you traveling this weekend? Whereas, like, one really cool thing about VS is that nobody ever asked where I was, what I was doing. All they had to do is like check my Twitter or my Instagram, and it was like, all right, well, Carl's at a meet in McAllen, Texas, down in Edinburgh, at UTRGV's, hanging out with Darren, or he's in West Texas at Canyon with Ray Baca, or he's at West Texas A&M, or he's out at Commerce announcing their spring meet, or I got to go up and announce at Notre Dame a couple times, and that was really cool because VS supported that. There wasn't as much of a need for that at Essex because we had just a tight-knit piece of equipment. So me being on the microphone wasn't as imperative, but it was a lot harder to sell at Essex than it was at VS. And I have to thank John Turek for starting the whole announcing thing, because he let me grab a microphone at the BVU Invitational, I think my third or fourth week here. And I got to see middle schoolers run across the field. And I taught some classes at Marietta College, like in PE and stuff, and we would do some integration stuff and bring like the middle school kids and teach them like some motor abilities and things like that in one of our classes. In our physical ed class, we got to do some stuff with one of the middle schools locally. And when you get to see a kid that age smile, it's magical. And I feel like when you can get 6th, 7th, and 8th graders to run across a field during a 4x4, right? Like the whole time I'm announcing a meet, I'm trying to build it up for the 4x4. And when those kids get to see like what track's all about, like, okay, now we set the standard for you. What announcing that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 middle school meets, right? Like, what did that just do for our sport long term, right? Like, so that's, yeah, man, love that. That's cool.
Last question. What does Track Barn have lined up, or what are your plans for 2020-21 as far as attending cross country or track and field meets to continue getting your brand visible?
Right now, Mama Bear has put me on hold. Um, I've had multiple people reach out to me to announce meets and stuff this fall, but we're gonna wait until October and just
Okay.
kind of feel it out. I actually hadn't had any plans of doing any traveling until clinics and stuff in the winter, but we're gonna sit tight. We've been extremely blessed to grow the way that we have just via social media and things like that. I'm sure I'll go and drop in at meets, just say hi to people. But it's like, where do I go? What meets do I go to? Because I usually go like, it's usually pretty easy to pick, because if there's certain schools at a meet and there's 80 teams, it's easy to pick that event. But
Right.
you're only allowed to do eight teams a meet now. So
Yeah, for
I've
cross country. Yeah.
I've been trying to figure out a way to economically make that work. Because I mean, at a cross country race, you don't really have a lot of time to talk to coaches. It's really like that. You got to get there early, before the warm up, before the first race, while they're hanging out at the tent. And even then, it's still only a 3 minute conversation, if that, just saying hi, checking in. We'll probably do some of that. I really wanted to sell some apparel and some Track Barn branded swag at some meets this year, but it looks like we're going to wait and hold on that. But springtime, we want to hit the road. We're hoping that things are semi cleared up and it's safe enough to hit the road and do some type of tour. There's Gavin. I'm past my 30 minute mark. He's calling. He's checking in. So I want to do a tour. I want to go to Texas Track Coaches Clinic, obviously. I want to go Oklahoma coaches. I want to go to Louisiana. I want to go to New Mexico. I want to get into Missouri, get into Wisconsin coaches. Ohio is always a great clinic. So that's our big, like, that's what I'm saving our pennies up for now, is to do that big tour in the winter, praying that all goes well.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, so beyond Texas and some that, but yeah, we're gonna sit tight. What about Texas Track Coaches? Are you guys gonna hang out?
Yeah, we're working on the January clinic. Got all our presenters. We've announced our first 2 Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
We've got Vince Anderson, Bob Beeman have been announced as our first 2 track and field Hall of Fame inductees. And we'll have one a day for the next 5 days. And we're just hoping that the clinic can be in person. We've got a virtual plan in place.
Right.
But, we don't want that. We want to be in person with no social distancing, because this thing has gone away somehow.
Yeah, seriously. Yep, that's what I'm egging on, man. Trying to come up with ideas to host events, and it's just like, it's like, that was that one, like, I told Kenny when I went to AP Ranch that morning to announce this meet, and I was loading the generator and the speakers up in the truck, I was like, man, like, I should be doing this for a cross country meet or something right now, right? Like, I got that dash of normal, and I rode that wave all week long. Went to announce a meet today. It was this weekend. It was awesome,
I understand. That was the first meet I've probably taken a photograph at since spring break.
Right.
It's like, I forgot where my camera was. It's like, this is insane.
Yeah. But we had fun, man. That was good. That was the first time I saw Turek out there. Got to see Greg Scholars.
Yeah.
I saw you. Kenny obviously was there, but it was small, secluded. I think that might be the way of the land this fall. But we want to do some events. We want to do some clinics. Want to do some meets. Do some throwing meets. Hopefully we could utilize at the Athletic Performance Ranch and do some stuff out there. They got housing, 26 bunk beds, I believe. You do overnight camps when things are cool. So
I understand.
Should be good. It should be good. I really appreciate the time tonight.
Carl, I was just going to say the same thing. Best of luck to you. And hopefully someday it'll be like the 50th anniversary, and Gavin is now taking over the company, and it's a multi-billion-dollar enterprise.
Yeah, it'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Greatly appreciated, sir.
All right. Thanks, Stuart. Talk soon.
You got it, man.
All right.